For the first time ever, Brad Underwood sweeps Maryland. Barely.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for joining us each and every day. Thank you for making us your first listen. Thank you for making us your last listen. And thank you for making the Locked On Sports Network the number one network in the world. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. We put the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. There's not much left of me after this game. Illinois escapes with a 78-72 victory. And I figured, every now and then I feel like you guys might be getting tired of just hearing my voice over and over again. And I've reached out to folks on this show and in the Discord and said, hey, if someone else wants to provide an alternate voice, please let me know if you'd like to come on. And I'm going to have a special guest today. And his name is Jared Konrardy. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me on, Sonny. I really appreciate it.
Of course. So Jared, he's got his own Illini Substack, and he's just started his own podcast. And it's I figured today was just one of those days where, Jared, I'm tired. I'm tired of doing this. I came on here after last game. Illinois won by 24 points, and I said, you know what? I don't feel like we won like 24 points. I feel like I'm tired. I feel like I'm lacking confidence in this team right now. And now that Illinois comes into the game as a 14.5-point favorite against Maryland, clearly a team that you're superior to, no doubt about it. But for almost, 38 minutes, this game was way too close for comfort. And it seemed like over and over again, this Illini team had a chance to shut it down, to close things off, to send Maryland home. They could not get it done. Jared, let's get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, at this point, I would have taken the 24-point Oregon win, Sonny. It felt like nothing could go right today. It's the same issues that we've been seeing kind of recently, right? Since we kind of went on that big skid and we're pretty much losing to every good team. The difference today was, for the most part, we've been blowing out the bad Big Ten teams, right? We blew out Northwestern, we blew out USC on the road. We blew out Oregon. We blew out Indiana. So for the most part, most of the close games have been those losses against great teams. Mm-hmm. This is the first time that really we had a close game against a really bad team, and it almost came back to bite us, right? If we lost this game, there would be no confidence from anybody going forward. And at this point, I don't have a lot of confidence in this team.
I'm there. Right? Like, people say I'm too overly optimistic when it comes to the Illini. I don't think I am. I understand there's a lot of optimism in a certain segment, and there's also, everything's doom and gloom with another segment. I do think I lean optimistic, but clearly I think, I can't help but question if this team peaked a month ago, because again, you are 2-0 going into the Big Ten tournament, and of course, we're going to find out who we're going to play at the conclusion of the Nebraska and Iowa game. Essentially, if Nebraska loses, Illinois jumps up to the 3 seed. If Nebraska wins, Illinois is going to be the 4 seed. Now, granted, I don't want the 4 seed because that means that if you win on Friday, which at this point, I don't think anyone's going to feel confident about. But if you do win on Friday, you've got Michigan looming there on Saturday. And I don't want to play Michigan before you have to. But, it's just one of those where this team a month and a half ago looked like they were unbeatable. You had won 12 in a row, and then Kyle Boswell gets hurt, but still you were able to play pretty solidly even in Boswell's absence. And then the Michigan State loss happened. And then the very next day, Stojakovic is not playing, and the Wisconsin loss happens. And then you have UCLA, and then you get beat down by Michigan. And it's just one of those where, this Maryland game, people are questioning, why is Illinois still on the 2 seed line? And they're questioning all these metrics, the analytics. And, my response is always like, well, take a look at the losses. There's only been 2 quote unquote bad losses, right? And that's UConn and that game against Michigan. Everything else has been kind of a coin flip at the end, and Ken Pom doesn't care if you win or lose. They just see how good your offense is and how good your defense is, and that's the only thing that factor in. But today, it could have blown that whole theory out. If you lose against this Maryland team, which again is just simply not a good basketball team, by the way, at home or away. And I guess, that's where I'm at now. Now we have 5 days. We're not going to play until Friday. Thankfully, you won today, so you've at least clinched that triple bye. But now you have just 5 days of Brad trying to convince us in these media sessions that, hey, Maryland was super hot from three-point land, at least early. They finished 9 for 30, but they were at 40% with, I think, like 10 minutes left in the game. And it's like, oh, you just take those averages. You take those averages every single time. And you know what? 24 hours from now, I'm going to record an episode of Locked On Illini and be like, yeah, you know what? He's right. You actually do have to play the math. But today, right now, these post-game sessions, usually we celebrate together or we have a therapy session together. Illinois won today, but I feel like today's going to be more of a therapy session. Jared, have you lost confidence in this team?
I have. I honestly operate pretty similar to you do, where I'm the optimist amongst the people that know me, and always looking for kind of the silver lining and the bright side. But I think there's just been too many bad, consistent patterns in the team, whether they've been winning or losing lately, that just don't give me a lot of confidence in what can we consistently rely on from Illinois, right? The 3-point shooting today was the second worst game of the season behind the UConn game. The team's just really, really struggling from three. There's only really 3 or 4 guys that maybe you can rely on from 3-point range, which the design of this team, right, was to be a 3-point shooting team. They take about half their shots from 3. So when you're looking at Ben Hummerkaus going, I think like 2-9, when you look at Stojakovic struggling, Boswell struggling, you look at Visic, who on that last air ball, oh wow, it was ugly. You can tell he has no confidence out there right now. And I think that's bleeding into their defense too.
And this is the thing that bothers me. Great point by SI Sportsman. He says, what happened to this team's energy and that great intensity? Keaton Wagler looked like he was napping out there today. Today, the only guy, and we'll dive deeper into this in the second segment, but holy cow, David Mirkovic. If it wasn't for David, this would have been a blowout on the bad side. He's the reason we were up 3 points at halftime. Keaton Wagler had 0 points in that first half. But when it comes to the difference in this game, you saw Mills attacking the rim over and over again. And we just don't have a guy that can do that. We thought it could be Boswell. We thought it could be Andres. Today just ended up being one of the bad Andres games. Like, he just goes back and forth. But again, 19 minutes, he had 8 points, and a lot of those were free throws at the end. But it's just, you can see clearly now that, the athletes, it's a weakness for this Illini basketball team to kind of face off. But outside David, what bothers me is the intensity wasn't there. And it should be there. Because for a game like this, for what mattered, like you're talking about, you need to win this game to lock down that triple bye. You need to fortify the chance of getting a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. And yet this team played like they had already locked up their seed, that they were Michigan, that there were 3 games in the conference. And I think if there's anything else, look, sometimes the 3-point shots fall, and sometimes you have days like today where you shoot 5 of 24 from 3-point land and they don't fall. That's one thing. But the intensity can't waver like it's been wavering, because now I sit here telling you I'm feeling unsure about this basketball team. But to me, I feel like the guys on the court are starting to feel a little unsure of this basketball team. And that's not what you want going into the last game of the season and into postseason play.
For sure. You can feel that. You can feel that with their, again, I think it's really their offense that is kind of taking away their maybe energy defensively, right? With how much they've been struggling from 3 consistently over the last several games. Tommy, I mean, with how far he's been off on some of his 3-pointers and his overall percentage, he hasn't really been playable on the defensive end because he's very slow-footed, right? Like you mentioned, for me, it was an issue going into the season that we talked about, where is the defense going to be too slow? Did we get too much skill, not enough athletes? And it seemed like at the beginning of the year, or at least through the middle of the year in the 12-game win streak, we kind of papered over that, right? The defense was good enough, and we were just so elite offensively, and we were hitting from 3-point range, and everything was working, that it kind of compensated for maybe the slower foot athletes. But now when we're not hitting from 3-point range, and the combination of we're not athletically enough defensively, that's when it's coming back to bite the Illini.
Let's talk about some of these players in particular right after this. I think. Or it's not showing up. Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let's Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5-hour energy flavor draft. And of course, I'm going to go with peach mango. Mango plus anything is a thumbs up from me, but the word out there is confetti craze is one to also keep an eye out on. It's a sleeper, as you might call it. 5-hour energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Also, workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less time, less stress, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. All right, Jared. Again, if you have children, I take it off YouTube. Maybe go ahead and listen to this game via podcast, because this box score is not very child friendly. I think it's clear. Usually in this segment, I like to talk about who the MVP of this game is. And let's just start with David. Jared, what do you think of David's performance today?
I start with his effort, right? You talked about that in the last segment, where really, where's the effort from the guys? Where's the heart defensively? I think just based on watching him, he stands out amongst the entire team, right? You see his effort on closeouts, on 3-point contests. You see his effort staying in front of guys defensively. You see his effort on the glass, which, as you can see from the box score, the next highest rebounder was 4 compared to his 11 on the double-double, right? He was efficient. He was attacking the glass. He was attacking the rim offensively. I actually normally he'll take a couple more 3-pointers, right? But wasn't really needed today. He took advantage of his size, his skill at the rim. But I think he honestly did everything offensively, defensively, and I don't think there's another player that I can really say had a good game on the Illini.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I do the player grades episode this week, it's going to be awful. I may just have to skip it this week. David's performance against in 35 minutes, he had 22 points. He had 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers. He literally did it all. He had one play where he just took, I don't know about you, Jared. I know you're going to know what play I'm talking about, where he took that fadeaway jump shot, I think like 17 feet away from the rim. I think there's no justification for shooting that. So my guess is he got duped by the players, the students, the Maryland students, who counted down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, trying to trick the players. And I think David fell for it, because he got an earful from Brad Underwood. But quite honestly, like, I'm not watching the post-game session right now that Coach Underwood does, because he does this at the same time I record. But there's no way that Brad's not going to be talking about and complimenting David for 10 minutes, because today was, I think, his best game, and we needed it because, again, nobody else really kind of showed up. I say this all the time. My opinion on this basketball team is Keaton Wagler is your floor, but David Mirkovic is the ceiling. As far as David Mirkovic can go, is how far this team is going to go. And, today, a day where basically your whole roster looked kind of lifeless. The only reason that we sit here now clinching that number, the triple bye, is because David. Let's talk about Keaton. Because Keaton, again, just a really bad game. I don't think there's any way to sugarcoat this. 34 minutes, he had 11 points, 3 of 10 from the field, 0 for 4 from three-point line. He got 5 of his 7 points from free throw land. And I said in the pregame that, hey, maybe if you coast this game, if you win by 15 points, if you win by 20 points at halftime, you give the ball to Keaton Wagler and go let him secure or at least be in the conversation for Big Ten Player of the Year. But really, he stumbles down the lane. Like, are you concerned at all about Keaton's level of play? Like, he's a scrawny guy, right? And I've been talking all season about maybe at some point he's going to reach that freshman wall like Will Riley hit early in the year last year and Kasparis hit essentially in the second half of last year. But Keaton hasn't. But now you're talking about a couple bad game stretch. And I know Brad had said after the Oregon game that Keaton had sprained, I believe it was his left shoulder in the previous game, but that he didn't want to be taken out. Do you think it's the effects of that, or do you think he's just getting bodied? Let's be honest, Maryland is a super physical team. They're gonna kick you when they can. They're gonna try to shove you when they can. Like, that has not changed even with the coaching transition that they've had. And today was just maybe the last Big Ten game that he's had to deal with, and just the injuries progressing over every single game is starting to wear on his little frail body. What's your concern level with Keaton?
My concern level is pretty high. I don't think it's injury related. I think, to your point, he is now top of the scouting report, right? I think earlier in the season when he was his buckets were coming a lot more easily in the flow of the offense, right? He was getting maybe more backdoor cuts. He was getting more open threes. I think more looks were coming easier for him, maybe because he wasn't the top of the scouting report, right? Teams were still trying to figure out who's going to be the guy in the Illinois team. Is it going to be Stojakovic? Mirkovic is playing well. Is it going to be him? Is it Tommy, who obviously finished off last season really hot? And I think a lot of Illini expectations were obviously way higher on him than what we've seen so far this year. But as teams have adjusted, and obviously when he went off at Purdue for 46, that was a big message to the Big Ten saying, hey, I'm the guy. It seems like ever since that moment, teams have been playing him a lot more physical. He's the focal point of the defensive game plan. And I think he's been struggling to figure out how to still get his while also try to run an efficient offense, right? Because there's been times where I'm frustrated because I'll see him drive to the basket and maybe there's 2 or 3 guys that are kind of bodying him up and covering him tight, and he'll kind of throw up a tough shot in the paint. And then there are times like in the first half today where he only took 3 shots in the first half, and I'm like, where are you? So I think he's still trying to figure out, with being the focal point and with the physicality of the Big Ten and being top of the scouting report, how does he fit?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Kyle Boswell today, 21 minutes. He had 11 points, 3 assists. I don't know how to phrase this. It's just like I expected more from these guys. This is Kylan's last Big Ten regular season game. Tomislav Ivisic was disappeared essentially in that second half. Brad Underwood had Big Z playing. He was supposed to be in there for defense. And I talked about this in the Talk Illini Discord. And by the way, there's no better place to be than the Talk Illini Discord. Jared is in the Discord as well. The link is in the description. What a roller coaster ride today was watching this game. But I've come on here on the show on Locked On Illini all season long with a straight face, talked to you and said, hey, Illinois is spoiled for having 2 potential starting centers on this basketball team. But now, over this last couple week stretch, like, I'm questioning if we have 1 starting center. I mean, Tommy has struggled. I know Big Z had a good game last game, but Maryland continued to attack the basket over and over again, especially late in that second half. And I don't know if my brain is playing tricks on me, but in December, Z was swatting those shots into the first and second row. And yet today, Maryland just kept getting them. Big Z had played 23 minutes today. He got 0 blocks. And if Big Z's not making blocks and he's only shooting 0 for 1 from 3-point land, why is he playing? What's the point? Like, even that shot at the end that Maryland missed, that wide open layup, Big Z, like I keep calling him Big Z. I'm annoying myself with that. Basically, he put his hands up. He did the right thing, but he was right under the basket. So there's no way he could have even blocked that shot. I know he's probably afraid of getting a foul called, but I had flashbacks of that UCLA game, that last play where Z basically put his hands up and wasn't really in position to make a block there. And that's what I saw against Maryland today. And if Maryland had connected on that, oh boy, we got another game today. But, I talked about in the preview, I needed to see a big Tomislav game, because if Tommy's playing well, and I'm way past the point of asking to see last year's version of Tomislav. At this point, I just want to be serviceable. I mean, he airballed a 3-point shot today, late in that second half. And I'm at the point where I'm losing confidence in him. And if there's any sign to me, or if there's any big reason that I think I'm so much less confident in what this team's going to do over the next couple of weeks, it all starts at that center position, because I can't trust them anymore.
My biggest question is who can you trust game to game on this team, right? We talked about Stojakovic need to have a big game against Oregon. He had a big game, right? It was very, very exciting. Was there any confidence that he was going to come back and have a good game today? No.
Foolish me, thinking, oh yeah, Stojakovic is a mid-team killer. I took the over 11 points and over 14 plus points for a plus number, thinking it was easy money. This is, again, me. I deserve this. This is all on me. But you're right. I get what you're saying. It's the inconsistency of Stojakovic just drives us wild. And it's not just us. Just go ahead and take a look at the comment section. It's the majority of this Illini fan base. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. It's the same theme across the board, right? Tommy and Big Z, Zvonimir were hot at the beginning of the season, right, from 3-point range. Now they can't hit the broadside of the barn. Keaton, now that he's the top of the scouting report and kind of our go-to player, he's been way less efficient from the field, kind of taking some bad shots, having some bad turnovers. Mirkovic, he had an amazing game today, but then struggles in some of our losses, right, where he even says himself that he's not showing up. So it's tough, because I think on some level you have to blame the players, right, when it comes to, like, you have to step up and be able to make shots. Brad Underwood can't do that for you. But with so many players inconsistent, so many games, at some point it has to come back to the coaching and kind of how they're approaching these guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like right now, there's a lot of pressure on Brad. No doubt about it. He said it himself during the season. This is the most talented team he's ever had. He said it in the preseason at a donor meeting, and a lot of people scoffed at that idea, me included. And then we watched this team play, and in mid-December and early January, it looked like Brad was telling the truth. But now the team, right when you want to be collected, right when you want to be playing its best, I've never been so insecure watching this basketball team. And this team lost, I think, 3 of its first 10 games of the season. But even then, I liked enough of what I saw on the basketball court that I was confident this was a very good basketball team. I still think it's a very good basketball team, but I no longer am confident that they think they're a good basketball team. And in a lot of ways, that's even worse. All right, Jared, I'm not going to doom you to this, the chat. I'll deal with that in the next segment. So can you let the folks here know where they can find your work now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have started a Substack. It's just under my name at Jared Konrardy. You can also find me on Twitter at Jared Konrardy. And I did have my introductory podcast at the Illini Pulse, which you can find on any podcast service. And I'm going to plan to do kind of some similar stuff, right? Maybe some post-game reactions, some film study, some talking about what I expect in the upcoming tournaments, which the outlook might be a little more bleak than what we would have expected coming in. But so there's a lot of good stuff coming along, and appreciate if you guys would join me for the ride. So yeah, appreciate it.
Jared, I appreciate you coming on. And again, hopefully next time we'll have you back on, and hopefully we can do it after a more convincing victory.
Sounds good. Thank you for the time, Sonny. Appreciate it.
All right. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen, of course, no doubt about it. Today's MVP is David Mirkovic. As I mentioned, 35 minutes, 22 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists. It's simple. It's simple. If you don't have David this game playing the way he did, how many times did he bail us out? You lose this game, and all of a sudden you are worried about playing a game on Thursday, and you don't get the triple bye. These remind us of what it takes to really raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put the same passion into every model. Highlights make the real. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. All right, let's go. Let me have it. We got 94 people watching here and only 24 likes. That math is not mathing. So let's get that going. But let's get to some of the comment section. All right. Check Please says, I'm hoping it's just a mid-season slump. Rest up, get ready for the tournament, and to stack up wins. No more room for error, but we can't go back in time. It's not the mid-season. The mid-season, we were killing it. Right? At this point, it's the end of season slump. The worst kind of time you can have to get into a slump is what Illinois is doing right now. And I think that's what has me so concerned. I've come here and said that I think this team still has the capability of going to the Final Four. Do I still believe that? Right now, probably not. I mean, can they? Sure, maybe, but I've lost unless this team can flip that switch again, I just don't know. I don't know. Teacup fan says, sorry, just the opposite of what we were looking for. Put it to W. Exactly right. I think Teacup fans talking about last game where I talked about this game. I wanted to feel comfortable. I wanted to see this Illinois team lockstep, having high chemistry, 8 guys, nobody was injured. Let's see them perform well together and then win that game Friday. And then you get things rolling into the tournament. Unfortunately, this team looked just as sloppy today as they looked against Oregon. Oregon, at least you had the game at home. This game was at Maryland. Now, again, I opened this up in the intro. This is the first time that Brad Underwood swept Maryland. At least that's a stat that I saw on Twitter. So if that's the case, it's something to celebrate. But yeah, I didn't see anything of what I was kind of looking for here. Johnny says, Underwood needs to see that to get to the best Illini team, you can't play Boswell and Wagler at the same time. One or the other, but not both. It's tough, though, because you have to stagger Boswell and Stojakovic because their just inability to make three-point shots unless Boswell just forces three-point shots and banks them in like he did earlier today. The offense is like, look, if the Ivisic brothers aren't making three-point shots, which they haven't been for weeks, you can't have 2 non-shooters on the floor at the same time. And so when you combine Ivisic with the Boswell, well, now you've got 2 non-shooters. If you add Stojakovic, then that best offense of all time goes out the window. I mean, essentially, it's already gone out the window, right? Today, Illinois, points per possession, it was still at 1.258. So that's still respectable, but I get what you're saying. Boswell's, I don't know, he's intriguing. He's going to go down as a great story for us Illini fans, but I just wish he could have a more commanding presence. Being the senior on this basketball team, seeing Keaton Wagler get beat up every time he drives to the rim, I was hoping Kylan could be that guy who's like, hey, I got it. And he just kind of hasn't been like that. SI says Boswell had to hold Brad back from yelling at Merck. Yeah, but you know what? I don't look too deep into that. I think we've seen over the year that Brad knows how comfortable he can be to get to Merck, right? There's some guys that you can yell at that way, scream in their ears. And I think his relationship with Merck has proven that maybe that's just how you get to him. And look, Merck came out with some big plays at the end of that game. MJ Illini fans, we played poorly, but thankfully we won. Yeah, I mean, Fox says they're here. Ugly win. The team limped across the finish line. Got to find the energy from more than Merck. Fedigator, old friend, says, like I've been saying since the end of January, Underwood has ran this team into the ground. Tired legs, soft play, short shots, defense getting worse. This is why on these post-game shows, when Boswell was out, it was frustrating to me that you weren't playing more, Mahalo or Brandon Lee, some sort of minutes. The fact that you stayed so stubborn and you continue just to play 7 guys. In some ways, Fetty's got a point here. These guys look tired. You watch this game. We haven't played a game in a while. There's no reason this team should be lifeless today on a Sunday afternoon with a triple bye on the line. But now we kind of see the fact that you weren't able to develop a 9th guy or 10th guy when you had to. We're seeing the ramifications of it now. And again, no one's saying Mihail is a great player or Brandon Lee's a great player, but you were playing 7 guys for 9 straight games, and then Stojakovic got hurt. Wisconsin, you played 6 guys. That's a lot of wear and tear on these kids' legs. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not happy with Brad. I mean, I'm not Czar unhappy. Fire Brad. But, yeah, he's got some accountability here, no doubt about it. Big Al says, survived Keaton's worst game of the year. Yeah, I mean, first time he didn't score in a half, and he looked bad. He looked lifeless. Fetty says, Wagner's getting more frustrated because he's being bodied up each game. He's too tired and too weak to fight through it. Yeah, and he's not the emotional guy, right? He's not really one that he goes, attacks the rim, and then if he gets fouled, he's not going to scream at the referee to bring attention to it. Richard says, we got some bad shooting, but 42 and 20 in the paint will be important in the tournament. What's going to be important in the tournament is to recognize that. Again, we were talking about in the Game Day channel in the Discord. Illinois was able to make their runs, and they scored on 3-4 straight possessions multiple times that game when they attacked the rim. And when they got easy buckets, which this team is capable of doing because Maryland doesn't have anybody who can block that. But do they continue to do that? That's the frustrating part, right? Imagine if today was a March Madness game, round of 32. Does anyone feel confident? You can be the most optimistic person in the chat. There's no way you're going to tell me that you're watching that game in the round of 32 and you're not worried sick that Illinois is not going to pull it out. Czar says it's coaching and roster construction, just zero athleticism. You're right for the most part. Unfortunately, Ty Rodgers was supposed to be on this basketball team, right? And you kind of see moments like today and the last game where you miss his presence. I know he can't shoot and he's a bad fit offensively for this team, but the guy's pure energy. You never had to worry about energy on the floor when you had Ty. But, at this point, he hasn't played basketball in 2 years. Jasmine says they're playing like they're ready to go home unless they find a burst of energy and a sense of urgency from somewhere. This is not going to well end in either tournament. Johnny asked the question, we're all wondering, what has happened to Tommy this year? I don't know. Last year, I talked about how he was the MVP of this basketball team. This year, I talked about how he could be all Big Ten. Now, I don't even know if I want him starting next year. That's where we're kind of at. All right, boys and girls, I'm going to have to let you go now. Again, we're going to have more content for you all week long. Please, if you don't mind, make sure you hit the like button on your way out. The regular season is over, but that does not mean the postgames are over here. I'm going to be doing a player grades episode, unfortunately, for this. And then we're going to preview the Big Ten tournament. We're going to find out who we play. We'll find that out at the conclusion of the Nebraska game. Appreciate all of you that have stuck around with me all season long. It's not always easy, especially in games where you lose or you look lifeless. I know Illini fans, they're a passionate bunch, and I wouldn't change a thing. But until next time, ILL, love you guys.